One, I am not a fan of digging potatoes up manually. So this eliminates that process for the most part. There might be a little lift here or there with the soil. Secondly, if for some reason our crop is very poor because of the conditions, we're not digging up multiple feet of soil and getting no potatoes. So it's a little less psychological damaging on that end. So we got 2 beds here. We got 4 foot on the other end of the garden of just traditional ground potatoes, and we have a 15-gallon grow bag as well. So we're just going to take, and first we're just going to move the straw back and expose the potatoes that we have on the ground. The only thing that would be a warning to you if you was to attempt this procedure would be make sure you have enough straw or yard material to cover the potatoes so they do not get exposed to sunlight, which will turn them green and make them toxic. All right. So let's work with what we have here. Okay, a lot of purple potatoes there. And we had a bunch of different varieties in which we planted. And we planted it much tighter than we would have if it was in a regular ground. So you just go in here, pull that potato up. Now these 2 potatoes here have been, there's some green there, so there's some toxicity. And then something has got in there and ate those potatoes. So those are not good. We'll put those in the compost pile. Now these purple ones here look very good. That one has been ate on, but it's all calloused over, so the rest of the potato is good. That would be one that we would consume first, cut off the bad part. That's a good little potato there. Keep digging through here. And see where that potato cluster was, I'll just take the garden fork and see what happens here. I stabbed a potato, but we dug more up and I wasn't far enough back. That's the only downside to digging potatoes, is you are capable of poking potatoes. And you can see this bed was purged as cleanly as possible. All the root removal, spent a better portion of 3 hours on this bed and that bed. And you can see it did nothing. So on that. So let's go up here where we had that other cluster and just make sure that we didn't miss anything. All right. Kind of go through these areas. Oh, there's a baby potato. All right, let's go over here. I see some red ones. And right here, some purple ones. So I'm going to get up underneath here. These are not the largest, but we can dig them out. Now again, if we were trying to dig, and we had these all trenched like a traditional planting method, there'd be a lot of digging and potential missing of potatoes that would come back the following year. So you get the gist of it. I'm going to go through here in these 2 beds and we'll dig up the potatoes and we'll see what we end up having. There's another rotten one there. End up having, and then we'll go to the ground potatoes and we'll look at the container potatoes. All right, so I've exposed the straw from the second bed, and just initially I can tell there's a tremendous amount more potatoes here than in the first bed. A couple of things to point out. You'll see a rotten potato. That's the seed potato. This was attached to the stalk. That's what all of these smaller potatoes, or these potatoes that we're harvesting, came from. So we get rid of that, throw that in the compost pile. Also, you may find your varieties develop small tomato-like fruit on the structure of the plant. Do not eat these. These are toxic, poisonous. These contain true potato seeds, and there are groups and organizations that do grow. They open this up and there's several hundred seeds in in there, and they will take a true seed and grow it into a plant, when others, gardeners such as we, take the potato itself, let it put eyes on it, and then divide it and plant it. So there's two different lines of thoughts on that. So do not eat these. You want to toss these if you find them. So with this here, we've already got a tremendous amount more. These purple potatoes have really are doing well here. I can just pull several of these up. This is a nice one there. Now, not all potatoes are good for certain applications. What I mean by that is there are certain potatoes that are good for canning, which you have to pressure can. You have to remove the peels and you pressure can them. They cannot be safely preserved by water bath canning. There's other ones that are good for cooking, mashed. You have to grow what you're intending the end result to be. So I just keep pulling these up here. Good selection, nice size. And I got a mixture of some white potatoes over here. I'm gonna have to get the fork, but you can see and the ease of digging these up compared to garden fork. There's a very unique, looks more like a rock than a potato. Just the ease of this, even though we may not have a tremendous overabundance of harvest, just so easy to harvest. So I'm going to clean this out and we'll see what we have, and then we'll move on to the next patch. So we've harvested both beds here. Bed 1 was not nearly as good as bed 2. Don't know the reasons. Very nice harvest. We planted obviously more purple and red potatoes, but you can see the size in which some of these are at. Beautiful size. The purple potato, or the blue potatoes, if you're unfamiliar with what they are, it is a purple potato essentially. There is some blue in there in order to get that name. I split that one open with a fork. That'll be used right away. But it's a very easy way in which to dig potatoes rather than the traditional trench method, which is fine if you have the soil, you have the time, you have the energy in which to do such. Large farms will have a machine that will flip that soil over, and then they'll pick the potatoes out. But this worked well. We planted, worked the soil, fertilized it, set the seed potatoes on it, covered with straw, walked away, and now came back and had a very rewarding harvest. I'm very pleased with that. So that being said, we're going to go and flip over this 20 gallon grow bag from rootmaker.com. This got compost in it. We used pine needles, pine straw as a mulch to hold moisture in. There's some weeds there. Now the thing you want to be aware of with pine needles, they do not make your soil acidic. That's a garden myth. They take a very long time to break down, which in turn provides a great mulch for whatever you're using, suppressing weeds, holding moisture in. So we're just going to pull the remaining, well, we're just going to do this first. So you can see there's some small potatoes there. We're just going to set all of this right here just so we know what we've got. So that we can just throw in the garden. That one there. Pine needles, fine, throw in the garden. So now we're going to flip this over gradually. Now this bag was sat behind the garage. Gets a tremendous amount of sunlight in the morning, then it's shade by noon and throughout the afternoon. Zero care given to this thing, zero water. So grade me on how good of a gardener that is. I know that's not the way you should take care of your plants, but that's just what had happened. And we'll see what else we get here. That might be all that we get from that bag, which would be understandable because of the lack of care. Oh, there's one there. The lack of care in which was given to. Yep, that's it. That's all we got. So that, my friends, is a disappointment, but that's a result of being too lazy and not keeping water to the plants. That's the result. You get a bunch of small potatoes compared to the moisture retention properties in which the straw provides for the soil and the nutrient-rich soil, and watering it over here with the irrigation system, you get a much better return. So let's go over final destination, a 3-foot swath of in-ground potatoes, I'm going to take a guess and say that's not going to be as good as this, but better than the container. We've got a 3-foot path here, or a 3-foot swath of in-ground potatoes. You can see the remaining remnants of them here. So we're just going to go in here, got Creeping Charlie, and we're just going to see what we dig up here. I don't know what variety these were. That didn't yield nothing. Ooh, what do we got here? Nice big purple potato. We'll sit right there. I didn't expect that. There's another purple potato. There's another decent sized purple potato. There's another one. So a few plants, decent sized potatoes, nothing better than what we had in the container. So this year, A+ to the purple potatoes and A+ to the no-till planting of potatoes and the harvest of potatoes. So if you've never grown potatoes before, take a look at our results and see what might work best for you. Thanks for watching. Join me again next time for more organic gardening and harvesting. I'm Joy Baird, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.